Hey, it's Matt, and I've got a couple of minutes between clients and the plumber hopefully turning up. I figure if I start doing a video, the plumber will turn up. We've sprung a leak outside. That's too much information. I thought I would do another video on the new guitar that I got recently. And it's this guitar. It's a Squier Mustang Bullet, I think. And the idea that I had was to buy a brand new guitar. If you haven't watched the last video, I buy a brand new guitar, cheap guitar, and I'm going to go through the setup process with you, and then I'll give it away. So what I would do, what I did. So when I finished the last video, I tuned the guitar up, and that's it. And I put it down, and it's been quite a few days. So it's kind of been sitting like it would be in a shop, maybe. I haven't looked at it at all. So this video will be discussing what I would do straight up, and what I'm going to look for. I'm not going to do it. What I'm looking for. So number one, I'm going to get rid of this tag about cancer, because I don't want to get cancer. So I'll just take the tag off, and we're all good. Maybe I'll plug it in. Wait up. I should have thought about this. Wait up. So I tuned it up to pitch, to the tuning that I'm going to use, which is just standard tuning. With the factory strings. Now, I will be throwing these strings in the bin. They are quite bad. They feel bad. And I know they are bad. They're not going to put nice strings on for you at the factory. They're just not. You might like them. I think nines on a sort of short scale guitar is a bit crazy. But if that's your jam, then that's cool. So what I would do is play it. So I'm not going to play the guitar in front of you, but oh, it's not in tune at all. Wait up. So the process that I go through every time is to see what the guitar is like. So if this was an old guitar or a whatever, and somebody came in and they wanted a setup, once they're gone, I kind of just behold the instrument and see what it's like. So what it might need, is it good? Does it sound all right? And like I just tuned that, sort of in tune. That's gross. And why that is, apart from my ham-fisted playing and me dropping a pick, is setup. Okay, and let's not. I get a lot of customers who have a real chip on their shoulder about quality assurance. Okay, and quality assurance for a new guitar like this is the finish good? Has it got visible scratches? Do the fret ends feel okay? Are there 6 tuners? Like they're not analyzing the setup at the factory. They don't care. They don't even know who it's going to. Okay. So this is something that you have to do to a new instrument. That's just part of the process. Don't be like, honestly, don't be like, this nut sucks, because it's the fault of the nut and the terrible strings. Why this is out of tune. It's not great and doesn't feel good. But that's not the factory's fault. It's my fault if I leave it like that. But these are just things that you've got to work through. So now I put that in my brain and I go, okay, this nut sucks. I'm going to have to do something about that. Store that away. And I say that because I can see that it's too high. I can feel that it's a bit like grabby and pointy on the edges. I don't like that. And it's plastic. And generally plastic nuts have to go in the bin. It seems all right. Like you can sort of... It's not... So what I'm doing is I'm pushing on the string behind the nut. It's returning to pitch. It's not too bad. With no little pings or whatever. So, yeah, you could probably make it work, but I'm not. I'll just replace it. The tuners feel all right when I was tuning it, so I don't think I have to do anything with them there. They're not the best tuners in the world, but it's a $300 guitar, so whatever. The string trees aren't great. They're the sort of like bent steel ones, like your traditional Fender ones. I'll probably leave them, to be honest. I would lube them up probably, so I'll put that in my brain. Otherwise, moving down the neck, the fret ends feel all right. They're not great. They're not going to win fret end of the year, but they're okay. I'll smooth them out a tiny bit. I'll show you how to do that. The strap buttons are pretty good. The pickup height is terrible, so I've got to fix that. I know that the switch ring fell off when I opened the box. I've put it back on, but I'm going to have to take that off and check what that's like. If it's a crappy switch, then we'll have to get rid of the switch. I want to check the electronics and make sure that they're the right values, because I really didn't prepare for this. I dropped my only pick. I like 500k pots for humbuckers, but we'll see what it came with and what the taper's like. I am going to change the jack straight up. The jack is a sort of cheap jack that doesn't need to be there. And I'm going to peel all this plastic off because I'm not a crazy person who leaves the plastic on their guitar for years, because that's really weird. It's not protecting anything. Just take it off. I mean, hey, you do you, people. But take the plastic off, please. Otherwise, I am going to replace this bridge, and I'm going to replace the bridge because I'm going to take I'll take a photo and put up the photo and talk about why I'm replacing this bridge straight away. Like, I've got no interest in even starting to set up this guitar with this bridge on. And it's because the string path, because it's not string through, right? So the strings load in through the back. And there's been plenty of top-loading guitars throughout time. It's not a bad thing. And I thought about maybe I will drill holes through the back, like on a telly, so you can rear load the strings. But I decided against it because that's not what Mustangs do. Mustangs are top-loaded. So I'm going to stick with that. So I've got to find a bridge that suits and doesn't do the problem that I'm going to show you, because the way that these strings go in, they go in down the bottom, and then they go up through the saddle and across, and they've kind of got a little bit of a kink in them, and that's not going to work. Actually, we'll cut there. I'm going to get a pick. I'll show you why. All right, I'm back. Got a pick. I've got this guitar. I've got this bridge. I think this bridge is a problem. Before I even know it's a problem, I haven't played this guitar much at all. I know it's a problem because of that kink in it. The winds of the strings are gonna catch. So when you do a lot of bending, not that you don't do that, maybe you do. So with a couple of big bends, that's not good. We're already flat, okay? And you keep playing and you play over a set. All those little kinks, and they're grabbing the edges. So it's grabbing the edge of that. It's grabbing the bottom edge of the saddle. It's grabbing the top edge, and it's doing that. You shouldn't do that to strings. I don't know who designed that. Probably somebody who wanted to make a cheap bridge. It feels pretty good, actually. I don't hate it. But 9s aren't for me. So anyway, I'm going to measure the bridge. Actually, I've got calipers. If you're going to replace a bridge, measure it. Measure it first. Measure it while you got strings on. And I know this is a Squier, and Squier have funny sizing. So you can't just go out and go, oh, I like American bridges, so I'm going to put an American bridge on. It probably won't work. And that's going to be your own fault because you didn't measure. It's super vital if it was, string through or you've got existing posts or things that you've got to care about. Personally, I don't think we'll find a bridge that has the same footprint, so we're going to have to fill some holes, drill some holes. But that's all right. What I will measure straight up is the string width at the bridge. I'm going to assume it's 52 millimeters because I know these things, but I'm just going to check. Normally I would do this on a flat surface, and yeah, it's 52. So between the middle of the E and the middle of the other E, it's 52 centimeters. So I'm going to go online and I'm going to find a bridge that's around that. It could be a little bit narrower, maybe a little bit wider, but not too much wider, or the strings will come off and off the edge, like your E's will be too far away. But we'll have a look online and we'll see what I can come up with that's not worth more than the guitar. I know there's kick-ass bridges around. I'm not going to spend lots of money. That's it. So what I do next, okay? And I know this is potentially boring to you, but if you just bought a guitar from a shop, and this is your guitar that you just bought, and you got it home and you're like, yeah, this is cool. I love it. I love the color. I love the way the neck feels. It's all good, but I don't play 9s in E standard. I play whatever in whatever. The next step, which we'll go into, is putting the whatever strings in whatever tuning on, and then looking at it. Because it's pointless getting into setup stuff until the guitar has had a little bit of time with the strings and tuning that you desire, because the whole geometry will change when we put it on in a different tension, right? So what I'll do is I'll just take these strings off. I'm going to put probably 10s, probably just 10s on this guitar, and I'm going to tune it up to E standard because that's what I want it to be in. And then I'm going to wait, and I'm going to do nothing. And I'm going to be aware that the nut slots will be too small because they're cut for 9s. That's just part of it. So I might have to widen out some slots. I'm going to replace the nut, so I don't really care. But that's on the list. So the next step, you get your guitar, tune it up with your strings. If it's wildly different, if you're buying this literal guitar and going, I want to put 14 gauge, 14 to 80s or something crazy heavy and to a different tuning altogether, come to a guitar tech, because that's going to require some changes straight up. If you put big strings in little slots, they're going to snap the nut, particularly in Fender nuts, because they're quite small and quite thin, especially at the bottom of the slot, and they'll just crack. And then you'll have to get a new nut anyway. So just keep that in mind. And then once you've got your strings on and you're tuning where you want it, then we can look at the rest, okay? Particularly heights-wise and things like that. let it rest with, it's just a piece of wood. You got to cut it some slack. You can't be like, I'm going to do this setup in 30 minutes and we're going to be good. It's not going to be good. Well, it might be good for the next 10 minutes, but the likelihood that it stays good is greatly diminished by how much you rush this process. And, you know, ideally we wouldn't be changing parts out straight up. Ideally I would have chosen a better guitar, but I didn't. I just bought the one online. So you would skip the part where I have to buy a new bridge. And you would probably skip, I'm going to replace these electronics anyway, because I know they're going to be crappy. Because I've worked on millions of these guitars. Not this one, but, you know, Squiers in general. They just need a bit of love. And we're going to give it that love. But first things first, strings tuning. And let it sit. You can play it. It doesn't, you don't have to like put it to bed, but, just give it some time to adjust. Cause the last thing that this guitar was, the last thing it knew was it was a tree in a forest somewhere. And then the humans came and they made it into this. So it's going to be pissed off. And you're going to have to let it acclimatize a little bit, cut it some slack. This thing was pretty cheap. There was a lot of labor involved. So you can't be like, Squier, Fender quality control is garbage. Number one, their quality control is actually very good, really. You know, some of the new stuff, look, they miss stuff. They miss things in the factory. I fixed plenty of brand new, expensive Fenders with problems. But that's okay. It's not quality control gone out the window, particularly, actually Gibson cop it way more. I don't know where that came from. It got onto the internet and people are like, Gibson's quality control is garbage. Gibsons are expensive. They're really expensive because the quality of the parts is very good and the labor costs a lot of money. And they've got a name and they can charge whatever they want for their product. And if you're like, they're quality control, you're not the quality control guy or person, or you're just not. You just bought a guitar and you're grumpy because it's going out of tune. They all go out of tune. It's not exclusive to cheap guitars and it's not exclusive to $10,000 Gibsons. It just happens. And I think when people pay more for a guitar, they get into this shouldn't happen. I should just be able to get it from the shop and it should be awesome. It's never going to be that way. Get over it. I know I'm not talking to those people right now, but you know, when your friend kicks off about Gibson quality control, ask them how many Gibsons they did quality control on. Or did they just play one in a shop that felt a bit bad to them? I think usually it's the latter. And usually it's they tried the really cheap one and then made judgments on every single guitar that was made for the last 120 years based on a couple of guitars that felt bad. And they felt bad because you just got them out of the box and they stuck them on the wall, because that's what they do in a busy shop. They don't sit there and love the guitar and make it perfect. They don't. They're there to sell the guitar. They're not here to fix the guitar. I'm here to fix the guitar. It's my job. And when you ask me which guitars come good from the factory, the answer is very few. Maybe Ernie Ball, maybe Sir, maybe ESP, the proper ESPs, not LTDs. They all, and even those still need a setup for you because you're a different person. You're not everyone. And you've got particular needs and wants. And then you go to somebody like me, who is basically the dressmaker, and we make it fit. So we're going to make this fit. I'm not going to crack on about stupid. Squier makes cheap things, because when I bought the cheap thing, I kind of bought into the whole process, right? So if I'm disappointed in a cheap guitar, that's like being pissed off at somebody who works at McDonald's. Like, you got a burger for $2. Go. Anyway, you get the drift, hopefully. So next steps. I'm going to put some decent strings on. Actually, I'm going to look for bridges. I'm not even going to bother, because that's just a waste of strings. And I'm going to peel all this stuff off. Actually, I'm going to peel it off while I'm talking to you. And then I'm going to look at the electronics. And maybe I could do that in this video. This stuff's stuck on pretty good. Lucky I didn't leave it for 10 years, or it'll be stuck on forever. So I might actually look at what sort of pots it has. I know they'll be really cheap Alpha ones. Not that Alpha is a bad brand. They're quite good. But I think we could do better. Oh, yes. Hear that sound? What a beautiful sound. Oh, wait. I didn't even read the sticker. I can get free online lessons for guitar, bass, and ukulele. Start my trial. I just bought a beautiful Mustang guitar, and then I can go get bass lessons. Brilliant. Or ukulele lessons. Fantastic. Anyway, there's more to peel off. I'm going to enjoy myself doing this. I'm going to tune out. And if I've got time, I'll show you the electronics and have a chat about what we might need to do there. I might have to change setup. I haven't thought this through, as you can probably tell. This background is terrible. I should have cleaned up the cabinet. I just keep bunging stuff in this lit cabinet, which has no purpose at all. I don't sell stuff here. All the parts are just there for me to use. I don't know why it needs to be downlit in a box, but here we are. I'm going to peel some stuff off. Talk to you in a bit. I'm back. I changed the angle. Now my head's going to get cut off. But we're back with riffs. I don't have any riffs. But yeah. Anyway, I had a quick play. I denuded the guitar of its stickers. Oh, wait up. Except the ones on. I'm going to turn that amp off. It's noisy. Except the ones on the back of the tuners. I just saw. If your tuners have stickers on the back, take them off. I do it all the time. I'm peeling these things off all the time, and you'll have a beautiful tuner underneath, and you'd never know. You'd just think that your tuners were made out of plastic. Look at the difference. Anyway, so amps off. Going to unplug, and we're going to have a look at the electronics. I kind of need another camera. Hey, I can't afford another camera, so I'm just going to use the correct screwdriver, and I'm going to look at. These screws are terrible too. I'll probably change out all the screws. And it's one of those things, like, people are like, look, they cheaped out on the screws. It's like, yeah, they have to. You know, when they're making guitars this cheap, if they can save a couple of bucks, they're going to save a couple of bucks, because they're going to times it by however many of these they made. It's going to be a lot. So, oh man. This is the wiring, and it's all going to go. The run to the switch is shielded wire, so that's good. Now I don't know. Hey, I haven't tried it with this. Sorry, this is terrible content. But maybe I'll take a photo and we'll talk about that. So it is nice that they wired the grounds. Fender have got this real habit of using the metal plate as a ground, which it is, but it's not a very good ground, because when you use the metal plates as a ground and things become loose, which they do over time, your pots become loose, your jacks become loose. When that connection is your grounds go loose and your guitar crackles and pops and cuts out. So it's good that they've got actual mechanical, like soldered wires. This jack is awful. The pots are all right. I don't know what value they are. Can't really tell. They write the value on the top sometimes. So I didn't really think about this either. So take the knobs off, and we're going to have a look at the pots. The cavity is unshielded. That's all right. You don't need to. People go buck wild on shielding, and you really don't. You don't need to. Okay. You do need to shield somehow, and you can do that with shielded wire. I kind of think it's neater. A lot of the time people go crazy and they start using like kitchen foil and dumb stuff to shield their guitars, and you end up with more problems than you would have had if you just didn't. I am woefully unprepared, so I'm trying to get the pot off. Oh, think about this, Matt. What I could have done is done this on my setup bench where I've got everything, and it would be really easy for me. But here we are. Yeah, I'm taking the pot off because there'll be a code under there that'll tell me this is really bad pot. We've all had some really bad pot in our life. These are B 250K pots. That is absolutely the wrong part. And I did a video on pots. And I guess I'll have to do another one on pot taper, because this is a linear pot. B stands for linear, don't you know? So it's no good. We're gonna swap that out. So now I've kind of had a look at everything that I want to have a look at. I know that this switch is going to be quite poor quality too. The pickups are probably going to be bad, okay? But that's all right. We're just gonna make it as good as we can with the parts that it has. I'll just screw that back on so we can still play it and still enjoy it while I wait for parts to arrive. So in my head, we are not changing the tuners. We're not changing the string trees. We are changing the nuts. So I'll have to make sure that I've got enough nut material. Lol. Frets are fine. I'll clean up the ends, and we'll have to make sure that they're all level and all that sort of stuff. But we'll go through that. Screws disappeared somewhere. And so this end is fine. I'm going to order another bridge that fits. And I'm going to order some new pots and a jack. Actually, I've got them over there probably. But I'll have to make sure they fit physically, whether they fit in that cavity. I'm not going to start routing stuff out to fit parts in. I have to check, and I have to measure. And then we'll go from there. I'll go through the rest of it once we've got the parts. And, I'll show you how I wire them up. That might be interesting too. But it's a super simple guitar, so there's nothing to it. Otherwise, that's it. That's step 2. That's what I do when you drop your guitar off to me. I have a quick play of it. I make some notes. I have a bit of a mental think. And I don't worry about the setup stuff. I don't worry about that until I'm doing it. Because we're going to change that stuff. It's no use me going, let's analyze the neck. And the neck is there. Actually, the neck's quite good. This nut height is terrible. The string height is all right. The pickup height's whack. All of those things are adjustments that you make in a very particular order. And I don't think that's important. Well, it's not. It's not important. I'm telling you now, it's not important. Until you've put it to pitch with the strings. And we can't put it to pitch with the strings until I address this bridge problem, which I guess we'll be doing later. I can do the entire setup with this plastic nut. Actually, I'll probably make it as good as I can, and then I'll replace it later. But I'll just kind of do the best I can with what it is. So it'll require a little bit of height adjustment, and it's a bit too tall. It's a bit grabby. But we'll just go with that, and then I can do the setup stuff, and then I'll put on a nut later. But hopefully that makes sense. So I'm gonna go shopping, I guess, once I've done some of my other work, which I should be doing right now. Thank you for watching this far. If you have, I'm not going to tell you to click like. These things aren't a competition. You know, you don't have to like it. You could really have not enjoyed this. And I'm not going to tell you that you should click like. If you want to keep up with this thing, I don't know, like, just, you don't have to subscribe either. Just, you do if you want it. So that's part of the deal. If you want this guitar at the end of the day, I'm only going to give it to somebody who's subscribed, because you can do that for free. Cheapskates. Oh my God. Anyway, I've got stuff to do. Good chat.